A local family changed all of their eating habits after the mom and her two children find out they had an allergy or a gluten problem. This is an allergy to grains like wheat, oats, rye, and other grains. Della Shapiro and her children, Zachary and Brooke, are thrilled they finally got a diagnosis for their problem. You can see Della cooking up some good gluten-free treats here. She suffered from problems like stomach problems. She was chronically ill and exhausted all of the time with chronic fatigue. Many children suffer severe stomach aches from gluten sensitivity. Brooke, this little girl, had debilitating headaches, and her mom says her growth was even stunted by it. Della has found healthy snacks her kids enjoy, like cheese, certain chips, and fresh fruit. She also made up her own recipes the whole family enjoys. You see it right there. She's using these breadcrumbs. Well, instead of breadcrumbs, she uses this grated Parmesan cheese, which she says is delicious. She specially prepares all of her food and has had to change some of their other eating habits.
They were accepting of it because they knew in the long run it would help them for their health and it would benefit them.
Since going gluten-free, Della no longer has medical problems. Brooke got rid of all of her awful headaches, and her growth shot up immediately after she went gluten-free. Right now, Dr. Peter Osborne joins us. He's from the Town Center Wellness in Sugar Land to explain more about this. Della and her children are some of your patients, and you have helped make a big difference in their life by getting them to go gluten-free.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me on today, Melissa. Gluten sensitivity is actually quite a common problem today. In today's society, it's being more and more recognized as we have lab testing that is more available. And doctors are more open to analyzing and looking for this as a potential problem, whereas even as little as 20 years ago, it was thought that only 1 in 5,000 people would have gluten sensitivity. Today, the number is more like 1%.
That is unbelievable. What does that end up being? I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of people who have this problem.
Absolutely. There are 3 million people suspected to have the disease, celiac disease, in the United States. Only about 80,000 of them have a diagnosis. So you can just do the math, and then celiac disease is really a manifestation of gluten sensitivity. Gluten sensitivity in and of itself can cause over 190 different types of problems. Celiac is just one of them.
I think the interesting thing that people are really starting to learn about gluten is when you have a sensitivity to it, it causes all kinds of problems. And people that I've talked to with this say they've gone to the doctor over and over and over, can never get a diagnosis. So where do people start if they say, you know what, I have these weird things going on with my body, no one can find them. Maybe I should be tested for gluten intolerance.
The best place to start is first with your doctor. If you get nowhere with your doctor, or your doctor doesn't really think that gluten is going to be an issue and you've kind of hit a brick wall, is to genetically test. Genetic testing is going to determine whether or not you have the genes for gluten sensitivity. If you have symptoms in the presence of the active genes, then of course you're going to want to go on a gluten-free diet. If your symptoms clear up, you have the answer. The proof is always in the pudding.
When I interviewed some of your patients, every single one of them told me, I went to my doctor, just my regular doctor. They ran a blood test and it came back negative, and I really believed like this was the problem. But when they found alternative care through you, that's when they found out they truly do that. So when do they draw the line of saying, well, my doctor says there's no problem, but I really still think there is?
Well, I think they have to draw the line. It's up to the person. If they want to continue to be sick, they can continue to listen to the doctor who's leading them down the wrong road, or they can seek out a different answer. Ultimately, the blood tests have a large margin of error. Antibody testing to gluten, which is what is a common test that's done, they run a test called an IgG or an IgA test to an antibody against gluten, or more specifically to a protein found in gluten called gliadin, which is only found in wheat, which is one of the reasons why this test often comes back negative. Because some people don't just react to wheat, they react to some of the other grains as well. And this is where genetic testing plays a much larger role. Even the Mayo Clinic has now come out and said that everybody with IBS who has no known reason, or there's no other known potential cause for IBS, should be HLA-DQ genotype tested and be put on a trial gluten-free diet to see if their symptoms clear up.
Well, you're talking about almost 200 ailments that could be caused by a gluten intolerance. What is the course? If you go gluten-free, can you reverse some of those conditions?
Absolutely. In my own experience with patients, and I've diagnosed thousands of patients with gluten sensitivity, it's very rare that they come in if they have gluten sensitivity that their problems don't clear up. You know, there's the old adage, everybody's entitled to more than one problem. So gluten is not going to be the solution, or going gluten-free is not going to be the solution for absolutely everything. But certainly in a lot of those medical mystery type cases, it helps clear up a lot of people's problems.
What's happening here? Is it causing lots of inflammation in the body that's just messing everything up and causing these conditions?
Well, there are multiple factors behind gluten sensitivity. Some people have an immunological reaction, so they make different types of immune proteins like IgG or IgA or IgM. Some people make chemical inflammatory mediators that will flare up tissues. Some people, they can't digest the gluten properly, so it sits in their gut and it creates a feeding frenzy for the normal bacteria, and so you get this abnormal bacterial growth in the gut that then leads to secondary reactions. Another reason why just doing the standard blood tests oftentimes come back negative.
Well, I think the big take-home message here is if you have some odd symptoms, if you have an autoimmune disease, you really might want to find out if you could be gluten intolerant. If you don't want to pay for the testing, or if you just don't have a doctor and don't want to do that, would you just say try to go gluten-free? It's a big lifestyle change. This isn't a fad diet.
That's the conundrum. You know, a lot of people say it's dangerous to go gluten-free. I don't believe that at all. Actually, human evolution over the past several million years, gluten or grain is relatively new to the human genome. It's only 10,000 years new to the human genome. So it's not really dangerous to go grain-free, but it is a big lifestyle decision. There's a lot of social implication. People can get a lot of ridicule. People can have trouble at school. People can have trouble when they go on vacations. So to just go gluten-free, you can do it. And certainly if you feel better, then that's just common sense. If you want to feel better and you go gluten-free and you do, then do it. But if you really want to get the diagnostic testing to determine whether or not it's something that should be done on a permanent level, I really encourage genetic testing.
All right. Dr. Peter Osborne, thanks for coming over from Town Center Wellness, and we hope that we can help a lot of people who have odd symptoms, and maybe they'll try this out.
Thank you, Melissa.
Appreciate it
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me.